The roe deer rut in the late summer is a special time of year for any roebuck hunter. Now is the time to find the most sly and elusive of the old bucks. A skilled use of the roe deer call can make roebucks that have led a secretive life all summer appear like ghosts in the dim light under the trees. Franz Albrecht Oettingen Spielberg is hunting at his ancestral hunting grounds at the Oettingen estate in southern Germany. He is accompanied by the estate forester Thomas Wengert, an expert roe deer hunter and deer manager like himself. By joint efforts, they will try to find and bag some of the really old local roebucks. It doesn't take long to make the first buck appear. A series of light strokes on the roe deer call is enough. The call is imitating the sound that a doe in heat makes when being chased by a buck. And for a dominant buck, the thought of a successful rival in the vicinity will give an instant rush of adrenaline through the body and get him on the move. In the open forest, Franz Albrecht and Thomas have a good possibility to take a close look at the buck that they have brought forward. Is he one of the ones they're looking for? Is he old enough to be taken out? Or will he get better and let it live for another year or two? The buck is circling their high seat, trying to determine where the sound comes from. He is alert, so it is important to be careful. Any unintended noise will be enough to make him run. With the characteristic barking alarm call of the roe deer, he is off. But at the next high seat, another buck appears. This is obviously a young one, a spiker. Again, Franz Albrecht and Thomas have a good chance to take a close look at him. A decision is made to take this buck out. It is not one of the old bucks that they're after, but with small, knob-like and almost invisible antlers. It is not a buck to keep either. And culling is an important part of the deer management too. Franz Albrecht is satisfied so far.
We haven't even started calling yet. And suddenly we see this tiny yearling just walking out from behind the tree. And we're in the absolute high rut right now. There's roebucks everywhere we're going. Everywhere. On each stand we're seeing roebucks before we even getting them. And we're just calling it. Very quietly, and they're coming from all directions. This only happens 1 or 2 days a year. We've hit the perfect day. We have perfect weather, sunny, but it's not too hot. And it's 12 o'clock in the morning at the moment. And the action is not stopping. Usually in the mornings you have a lot of action, and then during the midday it gets a little bit lower. It's the full same action as it was before. Totally crazy. And now we're gonna start calling it. We got 3 older bucks here, so hopefully we can get to them.
On it goes. Another buck has been tricked by the skilled calling from a Heisey. When the buck comes close, Franz Elbricht stopped calling to avoid discovery. Now, the buck obviously uses its nose to try finding the scent of the doe that allegedly should be here. Other bucks are seen too, underlying Franz Elbricht's statement that today there are bucks everywhere. When a buck is this alert, less is more when calling. A perfect situation, but suddenly the buck runs back. Why? A doe is browsing nearby. That is what caught the buck's attention. But if she is not ready to mate, it might be possible to lure him back. There he is again, and Franz Elbricht is ready. If this is one of the old bucks that they're waiting for, a fast shot might be required before he jumps off again. Tiny squeaks might make him move, but not run. As it gets closer and comes out in plain view, Franz Elbricht can make a positive identification of the buck that they have been waiting for.
It was a buck that we know. We think he's 4 years old, so he's 1 year younger than what we want to be. He doesn't have very much pearling. He's not very thick, but his coronets are quite nice, and we think that if we give him 1 more year, his coronets will be even bigger and he will have more character. he's not a buck that you want to keep breeding, really, but he's just 1 year away from being the right age. So we gave him the benefit of the doubt. We're going to give him 1 more year. But you can still see, even though the rut is getting higher and higher, the older bucks are still with the females, and if you're lucky, you can call them in, both of them. But today has been absolutely amazing, and we're going to go to a stand maybe 500 meters down the road. And we know 2 old bucks there. One is a 5-pointer, and the other one is basically only 2 spikes with 2 very small points in them. They have big coronets, and they get quite thin at the top. Good burling. If we see either of them, we will try and shoot them. And we've been working our way up towards this stand for quite some time today. So I'm getting more and more excited, and we'll leave here in the next 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll see you at the next stand. And I hope the wind is steady enough for us to call long enough to get them in.
They picked an ideal day for calling roebucks, and Frans Elbricht and Thomas have a proven strategy when hunting together. Thomas knows a good buck that resides right here. He is armed with a camera, ready to register any younger buck whose further development has to be followed. Frans Elbricht is carrying the gun, ready to harvest the fully mature bucks or to take out bucks of minor quality. Let the squeaking begin. There he comes. But is he for Thomas or for Frans Elbricht? It is a mature buck, a job for the rifle. With roebucks around, Thomas continues calling for a while. The sound of a shot does not necessarily have any effect in itself, and a second buck could turn up at any moment. Yet Frans Elbricht is eager to see the trophy of the buck that he just shot and decides to climb down from the high seat. He has seen several roe deer from the high seat, and the old buck is still in the area, so anything can happen.
It's the last stand of the day. And maybe at the beginning of this, when we got here, we were calling for one particular buck, which is an old buck, maybe 5 or 6 years old. You can hear him in the background right now. We had 3 females come into the call.
Suddenly, everything happened very fast. The buck came out. The shot was fired. The buck went down and is undoubtedly dead. It was an old buck, but was it the particular one that they were after? Frans Elbricht tries to recapture what he just saw. It seemed like the very one, and Thomas has photographic proof that it was.
We were just on our way down after we shot the first really old roebuck. so all of a sudden we came to the stand to call for a 6-point, an old 6-point. And Thomas has known him for a while now, and we want to get rid of him because there's younger bucks in the area who can take over. And we were calling and then suddenly we saw a female appear, and him. He came out of the thing and we just saw him. But he turned back and went in and let his female come past us. The female was around us all the time. We were calling, but nothing happened. And then suddenly from the bottom, a big body, a roebuck came running up. And you could see his cornets were almost above his eyes. He's a very old buck, the first one, so we took him and we were on our way down from the high seat. And I was only talking about the first buck and whatever. Yeah. And then we could hear our buck barking in the back because he heard us go down. So Thomas sprinted back up and you could see him. And we were making some noises on the ground, so maybe he would think that there's one of his opponents is here. So we went back up and suddenly he came out after all that, after all the time. He came back out and looked what was going on and we took him. So after a very, very long day, we got 2 old bucks, and that's great, just great. It's very good. It's perfect. Try it. Very good.
This is why hunting in the rut is so exciting. Anything can happen, and even the old and otherwise experienced bucks put aside the usual wariness when feeling threatened by a rival. That means that Franz Albrecht and Thomas have 2 bucks to retrieve now. They're not necessarily easy to find in the lush vegetation, but this is where a specially trained tracking dog comes in handy. Franz Albrecht unloads his rifle and is in for a surprise when examining the trophy of the buck that he shot.
This is an old roebuck. And actually, to be honest, we didn't see that he was abnormal. Wie ist er hin?
Wie innen ist?
Flach.
Good. Very good.
Weil man sagt, Wahnsinn. Nicht gekannt. Wir kennen wirklich viele Böcke hier, aber den haben wir nicht gekannt. Wie alt ist er denn? Didn't know him. And those are the surprises you only get when you call them. Thomas is out every day to look for the roebucks and to check on them in the winter, in the spring, in the summer. But when you call them, you still get surprises and bucks that you never see before, and this is one of them. And this is the area where Thomas is every day. So that's great. Let's see number 2.
Taking buck number 1 with them, they head off to find buck number 2. Again, the dog makes their job easy, and both Franz Albrecht and Thomas are pleased with what they find. They assess the buck to be old, and it certainly was.
Der wird nicht mehr besser.
This again is this is the one we were calling for. Thomas knows him very well. He's 5, maybe 6 years old. You can see the cornets are getting very big, and at the top he's getting smaller. So we're very happy that we could make some space for the younger and better bucks. But he's a very nice old buck, and you can see that the character they get through the big cornets, you can only get that in age. And also the thick neck, and that's something you get in old age. You don't get a young buck like this. Stärker als er ausgesehen hat.
Und steige raus. Statt zum Wachsen. Und dann ist das ein Teil vom Ausschuss. Mensch, wird das jetzt aufregend.
Wenn die älter werden, ne?
Nicht so einfach, gell?
Was sagen?
Komplette.
Komplette auf 2 so alte Rehböcke. Das ist wirklich etwas extrem Seltenes.
Ist gut. Sehr gut.
Unglaublich. Und wir waren ja wirklich schon, wir waren alle 3 unten unterm Hochstand.
Ist gut. Ja.
We had a very long day. We started at 7 in the morning. We've been calling and calling and calling. We saw many roebucks. It's in the middle of the rut. We still have a lot of the old bucks with the females. And as you saw, we passed a lot of young good bucks. And this is the last stand. We were calling for the 6 point. Before him, the abnormal buck comes, which is also a very old buck. In fact, it's older than the 6 point. We shoot the abnormal one, we think it's all over, we get down from the high seat, suddenly the old one starts barking at us from down there. We get back up, we start calling, Thomas starts doing some twig work, we doing some on the floor as well. We got back up, we suddenly see him and he starts charging out at us. Well, not charging, but he came very slowly and he was looking and looking, and that's what the old bucks like to do. And it's really difficult to shoot an old buck because they have been through this calling business for years and years and they know what's going on. But we finally made it. I'm incredibly happy. We have an abnormal, really old buck and big 6 point for our standards, and they couldn't have been any better. We'll see what we do tomorrow.
What a way to start a hunt. Numerous bucks were seen. Several were called in. A young buck with a poor body and an even poorer head was culled. And 2 spectacular old bucks were shot under the most exciting circumstances. No wonder that Franz Albrecht and Thomas Wenger are deeply fascinated by the elegant European roe deer in general, and by the roebuck hunt in the rut in particular. And luckily for them, and equally good fortune for us, the hunts that we just witnessed are just the beginning of a number of outings at Oettingen Estate in the roe deer rut, where we are to follow Franz Albrecht and Thomas Wenger on further adventures. It is just time to sit back and enjoy when more stunning calling skills are being displayed by the experts and more roebucks are being dragged home from the forest.